the Lifeboat Live. We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And I'm here with my bobble-headed partner. Feels like it's been a minute since the two of us were here at the same time. It's always nice. And there's just so much cool stuff to talk about. You know, this is it's good to be back. I had a very busy day yesterday, and I'm going to be going to bring you guys up to speed on a little of what happened, because it was. Yesterday was a very unusual day. So as I mentioned, there's a place in town that wanted me to do a radio show. And that radio show was about vintage watches. And so I was in the process of getting that scheduled so that we could do that. And while I was in there, there was somebody talking about a computer program that they wrote, which is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in my life. And you talk about just right up the alley of the lifeboat. You know what, though, before I go, can you guys see on top of the clock behind me? If you can't see that, on the next episode, I will bring that in a little bit closer. But I got a gift in the mail from the guy. It's a very cool, it's a small boat. It's a lifeboat. And it sits perfectly on top of the clock. It's got a little American flag there coming out the back of it. I'll bring it closer for the next show. But thank you, guy. Love it. And it sits perfectly on top of the ship's clock behind me. It's the perfect setup. Anyway, so this gentleman wrote a computer program. And let's say you're getting ready to go on vacation. Let's say you're getting ready to go on vacation. And you say, so I'm going to Las Vegas, and there's going to be 4 of us, and I'm wanting to fly first class. You can go to a site and you could type this stuff in, and it will tell you every hotel price. It will tell you, and there's 50 different, programs that will do the same thing. Or if you decide you need auto insurance, you can go to a site and say, all right, I'm 52 years old. I got a clean driving record. I'm driving a Ferrari, and I've had no tickets, blah blah blah, and it will give you the price of 20 different insurance companies, right? And you pick which one you want. And there's something like this for everything. However, if you want to go into rehab, if you want to turn your life around, and you get on the phone and you dial up a number, and you say, I'm a 52-year-old guy. I have problems with alcohol, bipolar disorder, and I'm also doing prescription pills, and I take benzos, and I'm looking for a 30-day inpatient, and my insurance company is Aetna, and they go, oh, we don't take Aetna. And you go, oh, okay. And you call the next place and you start the same process, and they say, oh, don't worry about it. We take Aetna. Oh, good. You go on a little bit further. Oh, yeah, but we don't do 30-day programs. Well, as anybody on the lifeboat can attest, that window when you're excited about turning your life around is a very, very small window, and it closes very, very quickly. So this gentleman has put together an app, and it's already been beta tested. It will be on the App Store and on so Apple and all of the other app, it'll be available on both platforms here shortly. You go into this and you say, I'm 52 years old. This is my drug of choice. And it is going to geolocate the closest rehab to you, no matter where you are, anywhere. And it'll, you say, I've got a dog. There's a section on there for that. Oh, you need someone to take care of your animal while you're going in? Yeah. And I'm kind of paranoid because I've got 3 existing outstanding warrants because I did this. Oh, it's all right. We got a lawyer that takes care of that. He goes on a sliding scale. No, I don't have any money. Oh, well, we got one that does pro bono. This handles everything. I mean, everything, people. It is the most ridiculous program you've ever seen. And he asked me to go over to his office because it happens to be in town. And I went and watched what this guy has put together. And you would have thought that this cat stepped off the lifeboat to do this. He shows me a promotional video, and this is how the promotional video starts. It says, we're losing on average, right, over 300 people a day in the United States to drug overdoses. And then it goes on to say a 747-400 in a 4-seat configuration seats this many people. And it talks about how many planes go down. How many times have I said this, right? That if this was happening with air travel, except he's got a great video that actually shows a plane going into the water, and you see the water coming up around the outside of the window of the plane. It's just an unbelievable video. And he has all of this put into place. This is going to be up and running and at people's disposal here in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month and a half at the longest. We will, at that point, put this up, and there will never be another one of those situations where people say, well, I called the number and I was on hold for 4 hours. Those days are over. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen anybody put together for people who are on drugs. And I said the other day, I was in a room full of all of these people, and everybody there had a sobriety date. You remember me talking about this, and I said it was just one of the most exciting things because all of these people had a passion. Well, yesterday I got to see that passion and what this man has put together, and it was nothing shy of breathtaking. I mean, this is a guy that is going to change the earth. He literally is going to leave the earth a better place than he found it, and loves the lifeboat. And said, one of the things on there, you can go on and say, you know what, I'm not ready to go into inpatient. I'm not ready to do any of that. I would just like to find some kind of an online forum where I can, go and sort of, for free, maybe sit in on some kind of a meeting or something where I can talk about bettering myself. Well, when they click on that, they're going to get the lifeboat, which is, I think, just absolutely phenomenal that, this will go out and go nationwide. For those of you listening in other countries, this program that he's got will leave the United States of America, and it will go to every, country on the planet. He realized that this is a worldwide epidemic. And the coolest part is that, my first question to him was, well, so if Betty Ford jumps on board, and then they write the biggest check in the entire world, every single person that goes in is going to get recommended there. He said, no, to make sure that none of that goes on and that there's no pay for play kind of thing. It's just geolocated. If you say, I'm willing to go 30 miles from where my house is, it's going to give you every option within 30 miles, whether that, place is, got the largest budget in the entire world, or whether it's a shoestring budget or whatever the case may be. It's going to give you the best bang for the buck. And there's nothing in there that isn't covered. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. One of the things that it had a list of all of the drugs that you might be abusing. Nits is on this list. The number of, there were 2 drugs on there, people that I had never heard of, and that's straight running bizarre, honestly. Also, he said, and we have a sponsor that wants to work with us that has a couple of new products for medical assisted treatment. and one is for opiates. I had never heard of this substance. I'm going to do a show on it, but not until I understand it a lot better. But it's the very first non-narcotic medical assisted treatment for the withdrawal and treatment of opioid addiction, which I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around it. I certainly can't give it any kind of a thumbs up because I don't understand it or know anything, but I promise you people, we're going to be talking about that. And there's a lot of other treatments. This is, I'm not pitching this people because this is, something that, I'm going to own half of. I'm pitching this because this is the coolest concept. And finally, there is somebody beating the drum as loud as we are, if not louder. And that was a fairly phenomenal thing to sit in and watch. It felt like, and by the time this thing was over, I mean, this is just a guy that was showing me a presentation. And by the time it was done, we were literally hugging each other. There was a couple of really heavy moments through this. The inspiration for his entire program was somebody that had invested quite a bit to help him get off the ground, and beautiful woman. She was an attorney, and he was telling me the story about it. And I said, wow, she sounds like a great lady. He said, yeah. And she drank herself to death a year ago. Before the project was completely off the ground, this woman went on a wine only 2-week binge of just pounding wine. And it just cost her life. They tried to do everything they could. They tried to intervene. They even tried to get a court order to get the woman out of the house so that they could do something to almost, even against her will, kind of get her into some kind of a treatment program. And, with 2 beautiful kids and, a great life ahead of her, she she drank herself to death. So let us say one more time, people, if your drug of choice is alcohol, talk to a doctor before you try to quit. If you're on benzodiazepines, don't quit cold turkey. Please talk to a medical professional before you try to do anything cold turkey. The statistics, the last show I did, I talked about how the statistics have been updated, and it's 107,800 and something deaths. So they've adjusted that. What was really odd though is this. I got a chance to see some of these statistics now that they are out and really take a look at them. And last year there was over 30,000 people who took their own life in the US. A great number of those are drug related. But what I found astounding was there was over 1.5 million attempts. Those 30,000 successful suicides, there were over 1.5 million people that tried. When you start looking at what this epidemic is doing to the country, people, it's bizarre and it's horrible, and it's good to see that there are people that are stepping up. And it was great to see somebody look at what we do here on the lifeboat and say, truthfully, the response was, boy, what a group of people you guys have assembled. Huh? I mean, that's the highest praise that my bobbleheaded partner and I could possibly hope for, right? This is what we say every day. What makes this channel unique is all of you. Truthfully, the amount of caring on this channel is second to none. And which brings us to tonight's topic. And let's be really honest, people. It only took me like 17 minutes to get there, right? I'm starting to hone in on this whole squirrel thing. The subject matter tonight was you can talk to me, right? Or talk to somebody else, but for the love of God, please talk to people. And I hear 2 things all of the time. In doing this show, there's 2 things that I hear constantly. And one of them is, you know what? I talk to people and there's not anybody listening. And that is something that is, it's an epidemic of people who all have that exact same feeling. And it gets articulated a lot. I hear it all the time. The other thing that I hear all the time is there's no point in trying to talk to anybody because, right, no one understands or no one is listening. Let me tell you something, people. We have beat this drum and we will continue to do so. When you come to the lifeboat, everybody here understands. I promise you, there's nobody here that doesn't get it. You're never going to have to worry about reaching out to someone on the lifeboat who's going to go, what do you mean you need the stuff, right? I mean, everybody here knows that feeling of of having something that you know is killing you that you can't say no to, right? It's a legitimate thing to say, you know what, people don't seem to understand anything I'm talking about. You get that. All right, I'll give you a pass. That's completely legit until you get here. Or for that matter, just about anywhere else. The major says nobody cares. I do. And I think everybody here does. I really do. The reason that we come here every single night and we do this 365 days a year is because we have there's a driving force inside people who manage to find their way out. You know, when I was in talking to these people, they had collateral material. If you've ever done marketing, right? Collateral material is cool stuff, folds in 3 places, right? Or it's videos, but it's all of the stuff that you do in like a multimedia fashion to get the name out and to get some recognition or whatever. And one of the things that they had, which just kind of blew my mind, showed footprints. And, you know, and I said to the guy, boy, I kind of dig the symbolism. I get, you know, the symbolism of the footprints. He's like, yeah, because, you know, we all found our way out. And there is something amazing, people, about becoming sober and sort of dedicating your life to living the best life you can without chemicals. When you do that and you walk out of that addiction, you leave footprints. You do. You leave a roadmap that other people can follow. Unfortunately, they won't. So you got to backtrack and you got to go through those same footprints that you just walked through so that you can get the attention of people and say, hey, follow me. And I assure you, people, that my bobbleheaded partner and I were, you know, aside from the huge money, right? Aside from the paychecks that are just flowing in, the reason that we do this is because we do care. And we do know what that feeling feels like when nobody gets you. We know what that feeling feels like when all you want is for someone to say, I understand. And instead, what they say is, well, you did this to yourself, didn't you? Or, you know, why can't you just stop? Right? Just quit, right? Just stop doing it. I've said many times when I talk about the history of this program of rehab, right? Going back to, you know, the very roots of, you know, prior to the 2 gentlemen that started AA, people, there was no such thing as rehab. It wasn't even a concept, right? But since that started, you know, one of the biggest blows that ever came to anything in recovery was the 3-syllable just say no explanation, right? Well, all you got to do is, you know, just say no. That's great if you've never tried the substance, right? But once you're addicted, the concept of just say no, holy hell, if it was that simple, right? And unfortunately, a great percentage of the world thinks it's that simple, right? All you got to do is say no. All you got to do is not get the next one. All you got to do is not get high. All you got to do is not drink a beer. All you got to do is, what you need to do is find people that understand what you're going through and talk to them for real, ad nauseum. You have to continue to talk. People, every weekend, there's a gentleman from the lifeboat that gets on the phone with me. You guys know who it is, but this is a guy that's been sober for years and has managed to tick off every single goal he's put down on the list. He's hitting out of the park. We had a great talk today. He was talking about the vacation that he had and going and seeing his family and just how fantastic it feels for everybody there to, to see the progress. It's somewhat humbling when people say, I'm proud of you. And it's a hard thing sometimes to hear. I mean, not that it's not awesome, but it's hard to wrap your brain around when for the majority of your time on this planet, you kind of been living like a dirtbag. And then all of a sudden, people really are proud of you. It almost takes a minute to cope with that. You know what I mean? Like that level of success and that level of adoration is something that is almost hard to deal with. But we don't just get together every weekend and talk on the phone because we're great friends, and we most assuredly are. But we talk because it's a key part of our sobriety. Mark and I talk because it is a key part of our sobriety. Before we went live tonight, Mark knows of some stuff that's going on in my life, and it doesn't need to be shared with everybody on the boat. I can assure you it's not threatening my sobriety, but it's personal stuff. And I shared it with Mark, right? So before I went live tonight, he just said, "Hey, how you doing? Is everything all right? You want to talk about this?" People, that's the backbone and the basis of staying sober. It may not make sense to you, but I promise you, it is the backbone and the basis of any successful program, is having people that you can talk to and having people that you have the ability to unload on, who aren't going to judge you. They're not going to put you into that box of, well, you did this to yourself kind of crap. It really is nuts and bolts stuff when it comes to staying sober. And it was unique to sit in a room with some very, very successful businessmen, people that are hitting it out of the park in every aspect of their life, who also happen to be recovering addicts. And one of the guys in the room said, "So who is your guy?" And I said, "Who is my guy?" And the guy said, "Yeah." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you're really doing great. And I've yet to meet anybody that's really been able to put it all behind them that doesn't have that guy or that girl that stepped in there and said, I'm going to show you, right, how to do this." He's like, I'll give you an example. I'll tell you about my guy." And he did. And he told me the story of the person that changed his life. And when he was done, I said, I didn't quite understand the question because I didn't need a primer. My guy was Q. And I went on to tell him the story of exactly how that happened. But people, if I didn't talk to Q, I'd have a needle in my arm tonight. And it wasn't a matter of me sitting down and going, "Yeah, well, I'd like to get sober." The amount of time that I spent talking to that man, if he had billed me by the hour for the rest of the time I'm on this planet, I wouldn't be able to pay him back. There was a lot of time spent, and that, all of the stuff that we talk about on here, right? Every single other subject that we ever tackle on the lifeboat comes back to this one. We do a show, and what we say? You got to own it, right? You got to own your past, and you got to celebrate your victories, right? What is that about? Well, it's about talking to people, right? You don't own your past in a closet. It doesn't do you a damn bit of good. You got to unload. You got to tell somebody what you've done. You got to tell somebody how it makes you feel, because the other option is keeping that crap inside. I hope this makes perfect sense. If you're not sharing exactly what's going on in your life, then you're keeping it in the dark, and darkness and rehabilitation are a really crappy combination. If you've got something that's just the seed of discomfort, normally what? You give a seed a little bit of water, you give it some sunlight. Well, that's not the kind of, thing that happens in the walk of sobriety. If you've got something that you need to get out, that seed, keep it in the dark and watch what happens to it. It won't just grow, people. It will devour you. It may take a day, it may take a month, it may take a year, but it will devour you, and it will lead you back to whatever your previous drug of abuse was. And I promise you, people, you're blessed in that you have found a place where people are willing to listen and not judge you. The number one reason that I get from people, if it wasn't for my brother, I could have easily went out and got some blow. I've been hurting bad. Lewis, I am thankful to God that your brother was there. Really. And I would imagine that you talked to him, right? I would imagine there was some conversation, and, you said, "Boy, right now I'm hurting. I really feel like this would be a time to, I'm dying here. I'm really feeling it." People, I'll be honest. I went through some personal stuff in the last couple of days. And I called somebody very close to me, and I said, for the first time in about 6 years, I thought about getting high today, right? Really thought about it. Now, no intention whatsoever of doing it, but I had some really heavy stuff weighing on my mind. And I thought to myself, much like I did when number 5 died, much like I did, you've been here. If you've been on a boat a long time, every episode I'm talking about. But it was another one of those things where I thought, boy, you know what? It would be great if I could just not think about this for about 3 or 4 hours. But I have come to realize that you can put a needle in your arm and it will guarantee you that you don't think about it for 8 hours. And then 8 hours later, you will have to put a needle in your arm, right? The old cliche, I do heroin and I'm a new man. The trouble is that new man needs to do some heroin. And that's just exactly how that snowball goes. The other option is when I start feeling like that, I make a phone call and I say, listen, before you start panicking or yelling or getting weirded out or whatever, I have no intention whatsoever of doing any drugs. But today is a day I'd like to. That happens. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'll tell you something, in rehab, in this whole process, we get to a point where we feel like there's weakness if we say that out loud, right? It almost becomes like,
wouldn't we call that a trigger? I mean, kind of.
Absolutely. And what ends up happening is we strut around, right? We've done shows on this. How much time you got sober? 7 years. I got 9, right? And you start living that kind of an existence where you're so damn proud of your recovery that you feel like there's some weakness if you say to somebody, and today is one of those days I really want to get high. Like somehow you're not that, you're not the trophy carrying sober person anymore, right? You got to be sober and you got to let the whole world know I'm perfect on every single day and everything is groovy. Well, I got news for you, people. That doesn't happen. Maybe in movies, but it doesn't happen in real life. Now, I've said all the time, right, from the beginning of this show, what you're hoping for is that maybe that happens 5 days a month, right? And the happier you get and the more you structure your life and the more you communicate and the more that you're active in your own sobriety, maybe you get to a point where that only happens once a year. That's possible. I believe that that's possible. But if you just go, well, today was a day I really wanted to get high, but I'm not going to tell anyone that because they're going to think less of me and they're going to think I'm not doing well or whatever. You know what I'll do? I'll take that seed and I'll put it in the dark. Whatever was causing me to want to get high, I'm just going to put this back here and I'm going to bottle it up, right? Let no sunlight get anywhere near it. I'm going to keep this thing a secret. The next time it happens, people, right? I'm not going to tell anybody, right? Same crap. I'm just going to put this one back there with that other seed, which by now is about that big and starting to sprout. We've done so many shows on this. If you're new to the lifeboat,
we kind of talked about that a little bit last night. The curveballs just keep getting thrown at you. That's kind of what that is. It
absolutely
keeps piling on and piling on. And I would even argue the fact the person that can talk about it is actually stronger in their recovery than the person that won't.
Boom. Make no mistake. I mean, you want to be a superhero in recovery. Anytime something even starts to lean in the direction and not feeling right, you dump it, right? You dump it. Yep. Honestly, think about any analogy you want. Think about it smelling bad. Think about whatever you want. It's going to start to stink. So as soon as that stink starts, get it the hell out of your house, right? How do you do that? You talk about it. You put it into the sunlight. You get it out in the open. And people, if nobody's listening, if you really believe that no one is listening and there's nobody even on the lifeboat that's going to hear you out, number one, there's no truth to that. I'm sorry, there's not. I know this crew. There's no chance of that. But reach out to myself or my bobbleheaded partner, because once again, this is why we do this. That this really is, the driving force behind everything that we do here. And we're not looking for pats on the back, I assure you. Long ago stopped giving a crap about any of that. But you know what? It's a full-time occupation, people. At some point, I'll have a great story to tell you of I had an opportunity come up, right? Be a heck of an opportunity, to be honest with you. Pretty good one. And there's no chance in hell I can do it. And when I talked to this person about it, and they said, oh, you got to be kidding, man. This is, why would you not? I even said to the person, you'd have to be an idiot to not do this. And I will be that idiot. And they said, I don't understand it. I said, because number one, I have a full-time job. Like what I do right now with the watch thing is no longer a hobby. This is definitely a gig, right? And number two, the lifeboat's a full-time job. And I am more committed to this than anything I've ever been committed to. And for a lot of reasons, And most of them are greed. I don't mean money, but this works. You understand? This for me, you know, I'm telling you people that when you start feeling really bad, you need to talk to somebody, right? Well, when I start feeling bad, I talk to a couple of thousand people. I come on here, I stare at the camera. People, if you're new to the lifeboat, go back and watch some of the shows where with titles like I Really Want to Get High, right? You'll see what happens to me when I get to those days, when I feel like it's really a threat and I'm really losing it. I come and I tell the entire world for two reasons. Number one, it shines light on it, right? And those kind of things hate light. You put a little light on them, they die, they don't grow, right? Truthfully, kills them. And the other thing is accountability. If I come here and I say I'm hurting and I'm honestly like to the point where, boy, I would love to get high today. The next time I do a show, the 300 people that are watching the show are watching it like this.
Yeah.
Nah, he's good.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm all over that.
Yeah.
I really am. That is an excellent thing for me. To be accountable to the crew of the lifeboat has worked beautifully for August, September, October, November, December, January, March, 9-10 months. Right? We got about 10 months into this.
Yep.
You know, next month will be the 11th month that we've been doing the lifeboat. And I'm going to be really honest, right? I'm 52 years on this planet. This is the most solid I have ever been in my recovery. And I didn't get sober the day that, you know, we launched the lifeboat. I had been sober a long time the day that we launched the lifeboat. But I don't think I was where I needed to be. It wasn't like I was feeling like I was going to use or anything else. I don't think I was in relapse. I don't think I was anything like that. I think I was solid, but not like I am today.
Right.
I have engineered a system that for me works beautifully. I will continue to come here every day forever. And if it means that there are other things in my life that I'm not going to do because of this, good, right? That's priority stuff right there. This is the backbone of my sobriety. And I'm not taking anything away from Mark. I'm not taking anything away from Alan. I'm not taking anything away from Johnny. There are people in my life that I lean on. But this is just, you know, as much as it's a show, it's also a video diary. And it's also, you know, people go back and watch it. Like I filmed the C+ math every day of my sickness. I have never, you know, taken a whole lot of time off from the boat. And I want everybody involved to know what's going on in my life as much as, you know, can be. I mean, there's certain stuff you guys don't even want to hear, trust me. But the vast majority of what I got going on in my life, I want everybody on the boat to know about, because the more accountable I am, the better a chance I have of them closing the pine box on me.
See, that's another thing that me and you have, you know, it's kind of and I call it an advantage in our recovery, because both of us exactly know what it looks like when somebody is not being who they should be. If they're getting in danger of all that, we're sitting right across from each other right now looking at each other. And I promise you that if there was something odd, we would, you know, not to say that when we see something odd, it's always, you know, drug related or anything like that. It's more so making sure the person's okay. And if it is a drug thing, I think we're both in a place where we'd be able to tell each other that. And
amen, right?
And that's, you know, that is kind of an advantage you guys don't get to see between us. You know, we don't get to see your faces. But also, you know, we're putting our face out there. You know, I'm not on here right now, but I did a show last night. My face is all out there. It's not like I'm trying to hide it or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is that you guys get to see us, you know, and we trust you guys enough, and that's why we do it. But we also, you know, man, it's one of those things that really does keep us focused, and it's a level of accountability that unfortunately you guys don't have, that we have. You know, you know, if we're going to come out here and put our face, we know that if we're going to jack up, somebody's going to see it. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
They see it even when we don't.
Yeah, let's just.
You know what? Lewis Clark says, I just find it really hard talking to anyone. I'm surprised I've even opened up as much as I have here. You know why that you have? Because there's two reasons, people. Like, and I promise you, this is just the way it is. We hear it all the time. The two reasons that, number one, there's nobody here that's going to go, I'm judging you, right? There's nobody here that doesn't understand exactly what you're going through. Now, not everybody has the same drug of choice, but they all know the feeling of that first 14 days of hell, right? Everybody here has been through it or is going through it or has been through it 50 times or whatever the case may be. The other thing is we're not staring at you, right? If you tried to do this in an AA or an NA meeting or any kind of a support, and I'm not bagging on those people, I'm not, but it sure as hell forces you to really be open while, let's see, 200 sets of eyes, right? In a big meeting, 60 in a small meeting, or 30 are staring at you. And no matter how much you feel like everybody in the room knows we're all in the same boat, right? Even those people, they're all sober. Take this from someone who has spent a lot of time standing and talking while people stare at you. No matter how much you try to get over that, you immediately think, this person is judging every word out of my mouth. Right? Everything that I'm saying, this person is wondering if I'm telling the truth, or he's looking at me like, man, that's a terrible combination of shirt and shoes. Like, really, who dressed you? Like, all of those little petty things start to become an issue when you're standing up and telling someone your story. But when you come here and type it in, and all you find is people that say, hey, man, I know what you're going through, and I'm here for you. That will get you to open up more. Right.
And if you're Flaming Jackson, you're going to get I love you.
Yeah. And if Jackson's here, you're definitely going to get loved.
But yeah, it's such a great point, though. I mean, I think that is what makes this special, is the communication level that we've gotten ourselves to. And people understand that judgment that anybody feels at the beginning of recovery is hard to get over. It really is, because then you're starting to see judgment when there isn't any. It starts being present when nobody's really looking at you. You become almost like a judgmental, paranoid type of person. I know I was. I got to be honest, I was. I still have problems getting out in front of people. I always have, and I think I told everybody this. Even in high school, I flunked speech class because I wouldn't get up and get a freaking 5-minute speech in front of my peers. I was in high school. So it ain't something I've struggled with that all my life. So if anybody understands that kind of a thing, it's me, and I even mentioned this before, that, we're taking the bad part of the internet, like, because there's no accountability here. You don't have to be accountable. You could come on here and just bold-faced lie to everybody, and nobody's ever going to know. But we're flipping that script on everything. We're using it for good. Now you can take it and you can be completely openly honest to people and not have to worry about the judgment, because it doesn't matter. You're saying what you need to say. And I think that if that was to happen more on other channels, other genres, I really do think that it could fix a whole lot of the nasty stuff we see. And nobody's ever going to do it always. I'm not that naive to think that that's going to, catch and go on fire or anything like that. But it definitely, if we, control our own little environment and we do that kind of a thing, I do think it can help. And just knowing, because Tommy, how many times have we come on here and somebody said, hey, I slipped up last night?
Yep. Nobody
had to say that. They don't have to say that. And we know that. So we respect the fact. Matter of fact, the judgment turns to respect when people say stuff like that here. It's an opposite reaction to what most people would give you. Because I promise you walk into any other kind of public place and say, hey, I'm drunk off my butt. First thing they're going to do is they're going to call 911. Right. I mean, you see what I'm getting at? You come here, we're wrapping you with a hug. Hey, come on in, man. Have a seat. That kind of a thing.
And if they don't call 911, you're still going to get well, I'll tell you what, when you sober up and you decide that you're ready to quit, maybe you'd like to come back. And that's never made a whole lot of sense to me. It's kicking out someone that needs to hear what you got to say doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It really doesn't. A couple of things. Number one, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Flamin' Jackson is doing some stuff with his church because someone asked where Jackson is. He will catch this, and he'll love to know that we were all wondering about him because that's good stuff. But yeah, I think that's what he's currently doing. And then one of the other ones, and it's off subject, but you know what? We're all friends, so why not? The guy is curious about some cloud cover. He's having a date night coming up, and the blood moon. He'd like to know how he can figure out whether or not. I believe what he said is he's trying to catch it with the best lack
Clarity.
of cloud cover.
Yeah, if you're trying to catch the eclipse this weekend, you'll have to just Google the eclipse, and they'll give you a viewing map and what time the best time is where you're at in the world. So
There you go. Everybody get that?
I can say it again. I know I rambled kind of through that. Sorry. If you guys are wanting to see the eclipse, I think it's actually tonight and going into tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. It's like the end of the 14th, 15th, and a little bit of the 16th, depending on where you're at. Anyway, if you guys want to see the eclipse, which is kind of what the blood moon thing they're talking about, because they're calling it a pink eclipse, I believe, is what they're calling it. But because of where the moon's positioned and the way that it's actually, the sun and the shadow of the earth is going to be hitting it, it's going to make it like a reddish, pinkish color. But Google eclipse. It's really all you got to do. Google eclipse for May 14th, 15th, or 16th, and you're going to get so many viewing maps. They're going to show you the path and everything. It's there. It's not hard to find. So if you really want to get a good look at it, just check that out. But yeah.
Excellent. Lewis said that he went and told his doctor absolutely everything, and the doctor didn't care. I hear this so often, and it is so disturbing to me. It really is. You know what, people, and I think who did a beautiful job talking about this was when we did the interview with Rip Curl.
I was going to say the same thing.
He went through this with his doctor, and Rip really did a beautiful job of articulating this. You just got to get in their face. I mean, I know that sounds awful, but you have to become an advocate for yourself. And I know that sometimes, like, we walk out of those situations and then we go home and we fume about it. We think all of the things that we should have said. While you're in there and the guy's ignoring you, take a really deep breath, right? Count to 20. If that doesn't work, shoot a text to me or my bobbleheaded partner and say, man, this doctor's not listening to anything I say. And then, we'll shoot back and say, calmly, take a deep breath, count to 20, and then say to him, Doc, why do I get the feeling you're not listening to anything that I'm saying, right? This is my life. This is really heavy duty stuff here. I didn't come down for you to pump a bunch of pills my way without discussing what's going on in my life. How about taking a damned interest in what's going on? Because this may be a 3-minute segment in your 8-hour day, but this is my damn life. How about if you pay a little bit more attention? And I know that might sound harsh or whatever, but that's really what you got to do sometimes.
Yes, you do.
Especially because, whether it's bipolar, whether it's drug addiction, any of that all falls under mental health, right? And you kind of have to become a vicious advocate for yourself.
At some level you do, yes.
Whether it's in the UK or whether it's here or anywhere else, that's really kind of what needs to happen.
I think the big point you just said there is the fact that, guys, it's a 3-minute segment of your doctor's life, but it's your whole life. So what you got to do, know that when that doctor walks out of that room, he's not going to think about you again. So make sure that he knows you were there. And, make sure he's going to give you the avenues that you need to go down, because he can. I promise you, if anybody knows how to get there, it's going to be a doctor or a counselor, some sort of mental health, whatever. But if you need that help, don't be afraid. Hey, listen, jerk, I'm trying to get, clean or sober or whatever. I need help. I'm telling you, I need help. Don't just throw another script at me just to get me out of your hair. I want help. I mean, I've actually said that to my doctors before. So you have to sometimes, I guess it's kind of like reading the room, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not saying, I promise you people, in no way, shape, or form am I defending the doctor, because this guy sounds like a jackwagon. So I don't want for 1 second to come across that way. But what I'm trying to do is explain, like what Mark was saying, in a little bit more detail. But think of whatever it is you do for a living, right? let's say you're a carpenter, you're a plumber, you're a whatever. Okay, so you're framing a wall, right? That's how you're going to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes, right? You're going to be measuring out and putting marks where you're going to be running studs or whatever. Okay, to them, it's the same thing, right? It's just another assignment in their day. You
job.
walk through, if you went up to that person 4 hours later and said, the bald guy with the mustache kind of sounded like he was from the East Coast. What was that guy's name? He got, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Well, what was his problem? I don't know. I really don't. Like, because we're just, it's that kind of assembly line medicine, even when the best of circumstances. So you gotta sort of throw your elbows a little bit, and and if you can say that nicely, articulate it.
Yeah.
Doc, I know, I'm just another patient in your day, but this is a really big deal for me. So put down your damn clipboard, right? Don't write me a prescription yet, and let me explain to you exactly what's going on. Maybe a little back and forth here, right? Earn that Mercedes. Let's figure out.
And if you get the feeling that he don't want to do that, well, it might be time to look for another doctor. I'm just being honest.
No question.
Because if he doesn't, the only reason I'm saying this because I'm not down on doctors. I love my doctors. Dr. Jetmore and I've had so much help from my doctors, and I've actually treated my doctors really badly at times, and to the point where I got kicked out of one practice of my own fault, right? And that's just what it is. But just try to just get them to understand. I've had doctors come in there and not even look at me. Like they're like looking at the clipboard the whole time, and they'll like glance up at you. Kind of like you're in a sitcom watching some, extra doctor come in the back scene or something. It's kind of what it feels like. And it's like he's just trying to get through his day because guess what, guys? That's his job. It's a job, right? And I get it. But I also understand that his job is needing to care about his patient. So there's a balance there that has to be met. And if you don't think you're getting help, you need to look somewhere else. I hate to say that, but
no, it's absolutely the truth. And you know something? I think that sometimes we lose sight of this. Rip really did such a great job of talking about, being your own advocate. But that. Like I sell watches, and I talk to people who will say to me, "Oh yeah, I absolutely love that. I'm going to shop this with about 4 other people, and I'll let you know." Right? It's a damn watch, right? People will go and talk to 5 people before they buy a cell phone, right? They'll go into 3 different cell phone providers, or they'll go, 3 jewelry stores, or whatever the case may be. But we walk into a doctor, and if the person doesn't treat us the way we want, we just sort of go, "Okay," and I think society has trained us that, well, these people almost walk on water, don't they? Right? They're the smartest people in the world. And I believe half of them have God complexes. I really do. I'm not crapping on doctors. I have some in the family, but a lot of them, I think, there's so much education and they learn so much about the human body. I think a lot of times they get a little too impressed with themselves. And I think, Mark nailed it. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what? This ain't a good match. It's not a good match. I'm going to find somebody that seems to care a little bit more, because again, this is my life. So
I can
don't give up. Don't give up on doctors because one is an idiot. Just keep going until you find one that's a good fit, because it's important that you do talk to a medical professional. Go ahead, Mark.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
No, I was the one cutting in there. I'm sorry. Guys, I actually have a short little story I can tell you that actually applies to this, and it's just my own personal thing that happened. I know we got we got 8 minutes, something like that. So yeah,
plenty.
We're
good.
Yeah, let me get it. It just be a second. So just kind of hear me out, because this is really the start of my recovery. Just to be completely honest with you, I wasn't in it at this point, but this is what really kind of pushed me to that. I go into my doctor, and obviously I was there, and I actually was sick. I had like strep throat or something. But I was out of my pain medication too. And my thought process, yeah, it's going to help my strep throat, but he's going to give me some cough syrup. Right?
Right.
So I go in there. My wife's with me. And, and at this point, everything wasn't all out on the table. But she I think this is where she really started to understand where I was at with my addiction. But anyway, he comes in, he does the exam, and we talk, we do our thing. And he was, we talked, hey, I'm out of my pain medication, that kind of a thing. He leaves the office and he sends his nurse in with the discharge papers, and there was no script. And I'm like, okay. Did they forget to write it? She said, no. He said, you wasn't going to write that. And I said, well, how come? And he said, well, you don't need it right now. And I'm like, well, can you go get him? Because I want to talk to him, because at this point, when they say that, an addict's going to start panicking.
Right.
You're going, man, I ain't getting my medication. What's going on? You start freaking out a little bit. Well, he refused to come back in the room. He wouldn't even come back in the room. And and at this point, I understand why. Because he knew if he went in there that I was going to sit there and just argue with him. And she just said, hey, he will not treat you for this anymore. The nurse said that. And the only problem I had with the doctor at that point was the fact that he wouldn't come in there and at least talk to me and tell me himself. Right. But because of that, I'm like, well, if he can't come in here and talk to me, I can't have him as my doctor. I actually verbalized that. That's all I said, right? So I leave, and obviously whatever I needed to do, how I handled it after that, I don't even remember. But I got sick again like 2 or 3 months later, and I call in there to get an appointment. He said, the office lady said, you're no longer a part of this practice. He kicked you out. So what I'm saying, guys, is that we have to understand that these doctors, some of them actually do care. And he kicked me out because he cared.
Right. He did the right thing.
He did the right thing. And it took me to get sober to see that. I even went as far after that as I wrote the man a letter of apology.
Oh, good for you.
And I wasn't trying to get back into his practice. If he would have taken me back in, I would have went, because the man saved my life. Get this, guys. This is where drug addiction will get you. The man saved my life more than 3 times. And I'm kicking him out, and I'm like firing him because of he won't give me a script for cough medicine. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's where your mind goes, guys. That's really how far you get. And, that's just something that happened with me. I don't think I've ever shared that here. I don't know why, but I don't think I ever have. But that happened to me. That's actually happened to me, And at that point, I started taking, when I started getting help and stuff, I would take my wife with me, and to every appointment for that reason. I wanted to make sure that if I was saying something stupid, and there was a couple times I did, and she called me on it, and it's, even after I got help, because I would tell them, don't give me another script after my surgeries, right? Give me one script to get me through that pain, and we're done, right? Well, one time I went back up in there and asked for some more pain medication. He wasn't going to give it to me. And I started fighting with him a little bit. My wife's like looking at me and said, you better just shut up, that kind of a look. And then when I keyed in on that, I was like, you know what? She's right. He's right. Just shut up and move on. And that's what I did after that. But what I'm saying is that you can still get pulled back in at any time. And that's why what we do here is important, because all that stuff I just shared with you guys don't have to go through that. You might still, but you don't have to. You can handle it different. And that's why we share it. And hopefully you guys got something out of that and you can put it in your tool belt. Because, I don't know. There's so many things that I did when I was doing it, and just like yourself. And sometimes you even forget, don't you, Tommy? Forget what you've done.
Oh, yeah.
And then every once in a while, like this, you start talking about it again, and I'm sure you guys probably heard all that stuff coming out of me when I was just talking about it. I mean, I could feel myself getting louder and everything because that situation actually bothered me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it still does when I think about it. But the bother I get from this is actually a good bother. It's letting me know, hey, don't go back and do that again. And it's kind of like, good guilt versus bad guilt. All those kinds of things start playing in here. And, that is a good guilty, in my opinion. I feel guilty for doing that to my family doctor. And that's a good guilty because now I don't want to do that to somebody else. Because, number one, I wouldn't be in a good headspace. Number two, they don't deserve it. And it's even, like I said, guys, when I talk about this stuff, sometimes it just floods in, man. You go right back to where you were at, thinking about what you did, and you start feeling bad. And I won't let myself do that. Right?
Yep. So before I end, I want to, because we're getting on to the top of the hour. People, if I have not responded to an email of yours, I am probably 25 emails behind. I will be responding to you shortly. Full of hope. I didn't know it was you until I just saw that. But if you sent me a poem, then yes, I got your email, and it was absolutely amazing. I will be responding to it. In fact, I'm going to read it on the lifeboat, but I will probably do it on the next show.
Tommy, where do they share like their in the chat? Do they share their? Because I don't go over to the Facebook page, guys. Me and Tommy try not to go there.
Yeah, we do try to give you a place where you can
go without us.
You know, if you want to go over there and say, "Boy, the captain sucked tonight," we'd like to kind of give you a place that you know, you can do that. And you know, sort of just. Yeah.
But yeah, over there, guys, if you guys wanted to share your numbers and stuff with each other, please do that. Because there are people that, you know, some people are more comfortable talking to a man, some are more comfortable talking to a woman, those kinds of things, and we recognize that. And unfortunately, even though I might act like a woman sometimes, I'm not. Just kidding. I'm not. You know, I might. You know. Anyway, I won't go any further with that. But yeah.
Alrighty then. All right, people. You know what that does, right? That brings us right to the top of the hour. We will be back 23 hours. No, see, the guy got here late. I'm sorry. The guy. I got the package. You got here late. You have to watch the beginning of the show. Your boat is proudly displayed on my clock. On tomorrow's show, people, I'm going to bring it so you guys
can zoom it in real quick. I can zoom it in.
Yeah, can you zoom it?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I just got to go back over here for a second. And,
see that? Bobbleheaded partners on this.
Let's do it this way. Trying to get it in there. All right.
Can we pull that off?
Yeah, it's there. I'm not sure how well they can see it. It's pretty.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow I'm going to have it here anyway. But he made me a bow. You guys will see it tomorrow. But yeah, guy, I got it. I love it. You will see it tomorrow. Look at that. There you go. That is the flag you were looking at. You see the front of the boat?
Yep.
And the flag, the U.S. flag, is hanging off the back. But you will see it tomorrow, much closer up, people. But 23 hours from right now, we will be back. Right here. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be talking about a different bat thing, but it will be right here. Between now and then, people, reach out and try to save somebody. If that somebody is you, then try really hard and really quickly. And you know what, people? You know how you do that? Talk to somebody, man. You're not going to save anybody if you're not talking to them. And you're not going to save yourself if you're not talking. Communicate, people. Talk. Everybody here is willing to listen to you. You're in the right place. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And my cat, for whatever reason, is not in the basket. She is sleeping on the chair next to it. But this should have been a cat in the basket. There you go. Now it's a cat in the basket. All right. Good night, everybody. We love you.